Welcome back. This week we're going to go with just a basic Pheasant Tail Nymph. It doesn't get any simpler than this pattern, but if I had to choose between, if I could only fish one nymph for the rest of my life, it would be between this and a hare's ear. It's just, I don't know, I've been tying this for years. I've tied a million, well, not a million, that's a huge exaggeration, but thousands of them. And we're going with the old Penn State shirt today. Pre-recording these because for the next 2 weeks I'll be fishing on the Madison, and by the time we get to releasing this, it's going to be Penn State, Michigan. Boy, we owe them for the ass whooping they put on us last year, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully when I get back from Madison and get to listen to the game, that it's going to be a big Penn State win. But anyhow, we're going to get to the tying and not my football rants. So to start with this, we're just going to go with a regular pheasant tail and pull these off to the side. See how they're like at a 90 to the actual stem of the tail? That way, when you pull everything together, they're all nice and even. For the thread, I tie almost all of my nymphs with this brown or rusty brown, but honestly I just grab whatever is on the bobbin at the time. I really don't think that having a specific color for nymphs is crucial. I used to flip rocks over and try and get every single detail perfect. The more I've fished and the more that I've learned over the years, I don't think it matters. What really matters is where your fly's at in the water column, not what color your thread is. So that and your drift. If you've got a ton of drag or you're too fast, too slow, it doesn't matter. If that fly's perfect, you ain't gonna catch many fish. So worry less about the details and more about your technique, I guess, is the moral of that story. Anyhow, moving on. We have just a extra small brass wire that we're going to tie in. This will save you a lot of flies. It's not absolutely necessary. It just, I hate catching one fish off of a fly, having a tooth get in there, busting up the pheasant tail, and then your fly just unravels on you, so I throw in the wire. So we're going to just take this right around, and by the way, I'm tying on a Daiichi 1120. I like the curved hooks. For some reason, I've almost always tie my nymphs on a curved caddis emerger, egg hook, whatever you want to call it. I almost always tie on those. I just like those better. I don't know, the hare's ears, I tie those on a straight nymph hook, but the pheasant tails have almost always been on this style of hook. So we're going almost up to, I don't know, your third waypoint for the length of your hook. And I could have brought this down just a little bit further, but I'm not going to worry about it. I mean, it's still going to fish. Now we're just going to take this brass and counter wrap it. Have nice spaced out wraps, and it's really not going to matter when you're using this extra small because it kind of folds into the material. And we'll just go ahead and tie this off. clip the wire out. Anymore, when I tie pheasant tails, I don't do this step anymore. I really don't. I normally just take it right up to the front, call it good. I don't put the wings in or the wing case or any of that, but this is how the fly was originally done. This is the traditional, and I've tied just thousands of them this way, so that's how we're going to do it today. We're going to take, if I were to guess, probably 10 to 12 strands. Once again, pull it at a 90 and then pull the stuff off. And you can see your tips are all nice and even. If I can get it in focus there on the camera. So now we'll just take this and I'll bring it just shy of where my tail ends. And we'll go ahead and tie this in. And then take this right down to the eye, just for some bulk. Go ahead and tie that off. Leave those standing back. And then we'll find some Peacock herl. Grab 3 of these, and if you take and tie this in too close to the butt end of it, get that in there, too close to the butt end, you're gonna have a very messy wrap, to say the least. So you want to get the most of your material, but you don't want to go up to the tips of it, because that's gonna, it's really weak, and if you put any tension on it whatsoever, it's gone. So trim off, I don't know, 1.5 inches of it, just to where you see this. You can see the white right there in it. Go up past the white to maybe 1/2 inch or so, and then get the actual meat of the material that you're trying to tie in. And then we're just going to take this and wrap it around, keeping all 3 together. Like I said, for years I just tied and fished this pattern constantly. I thought it was the best pattern in the world. I really did. Anytime I was out fishing, my cousin Darren, you know, he was real exotic with his, he was 10 times the fly tyer I was. When I first, he's the one that taught me. When we first started, he was 10 times the fly tyer I was. And he's still just phenomenal fly tyer. But he'd always ask me, what are you using, buddy? It was always a pheasant tail. And, you know, Darren was using these fancy patterns, things that just look like they belong in a shadow box, you know, just because he was so good. He really was. And be like, man, you don't need to use them pheasant tails. He goes, you want to try this? I'm catching fish, but I miss fishing with that old boy. Anyhow, enough about my rambling on there. So we're going to take this over and use our tips for a wing case. And I'll just flip this over. Let me throw my glasses on so I can make sure we're still in focus here. It looks good, but come out just a touch. Yeah, that'll work. So we threw our tips in, and then we're just going to divide our tips. Pull half to one side, half to the other. And just tie these in right back against the body. And like I said, these days when I tie this pattern, I completely omit this step. I don't throw the legs in, if you will. I just kind of let it go. But like I said, this was the original. I'm actually going to use a whip finisher here if I can find it. There we go. Normally I don't use this, but with the smaller stuff and the eye turned down, I just have a little bit more accuracy with this, so I'll use it. Just pull that tight, and I'll give it one more wrap. And there it is, the finished Pheasant Tail Nymph. I apologize for, I know y'all are used to seeing me tie these exotic articulated streamers, and we're going with a boring Pheasant Tail Nymph, but I fished this and still fish it today. I fished it for years. But I'm also in kind of a time crunch. I need to pack and get my ass ready to go on to Madison for 2 weeks. So hopefully I have some pictures to share with everybody of some monster fish after these 2 weeks in October of fishing to Madison. So anyhow, there's your Pheasant Tail Nymph. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will catch you, what is it, 4 Wednesdays from now, but when you guys see this, we'll catch you next Wednesday. Alright, thanks a lot.